the love.
All you need is love.
Everyone, I bet everyone have a lot of topic talk about the love.
Yeah. No, love's a big topic. Love is also very subjective. So it really depends on how one defines love to be. So,
Yes.
yeah,
We are alive.
we are live.
Welcome back to Stop Sabotage, Self-Sabotage. This is Ria and my co-host Way Home. Today we are diving into a topic that's close to the home for so many people that talk about romantic relationship and the
Mm,
way we don't understand the sabotage of them.
hmm.
Many people maybe we want to talk about what is the hidden way that sabotage your relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Wei.
Hello. Big topic. Very deep topic. Lots of things to talk about.
I know that is a hot topic. Even for 1,000 years, we
Yep.
are all the love always the topic.
Every
So
year.
never be
Yeah.
old.
It's the top three subject areas of every human being's existence, right? It's health, career, or love, relationships, those types of things. So it's one of the top three, always.
Yeah. We are here to unpack the hidden fears, limited beliefs, and
Hmm.
self-protective behaves,
Hmm.
and also can quite ruling some best relationship. What do you think about the self-protective behaves way? That is, we just jump in to see.
Yeah.
I think many people talk about the relationship. The
Yeah.
number one is build the fence. That
Yep.
say, oh, I protect myself. I wouldn't get
Right.
hurt. I
Right.
wouldn't get meet the person is not right for me. But how do
Right.
you know if you build the fence
Right.
around your love?
Yeah, and I think what happens is we forget to de-roll that fence when we choose to get into a relationship. That fence is there for a reason. It's when you're dating, when you're exploring your options. But when you decide to choose, decide and choose to love the person and get into a more deeper relationship with them, having that fence up is actually going to be one of the hidden ways you sabotage that relationship. You've had that fence up this whole time, and now you're saying, okay, come into my domain. Okay, at that point, you dismantle that fence. Otherwise, somewhere down the road, you're going to basically um, sabotage that because it's one of the things that we forget to do. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So I have a few. We wanted to talk about a little bit. A few questions we wanted to. I wanted to say the question first. The
Hmm.
first one: are you a type of love? You are push the love away, or you are the type of love you're more aggressive. You are chasing. Then when something coming there, doesn't matter if you really want it, you just chasing, or someone you really want it, but you keep pushing away.
Yeah, I think these are self-sabotage patterns that we see a lot, not only in our own lives, right, but also in the lives of the clients that we work with and help around this. The interesting thing is, people choose to fall in love for some of the wrong reasons a lot of times. And if you just kind of have an honest conversation with self and look at the patterns of relationships that you have and how each of them happen, just remember you're the common denominator in all of that. And I say that not to criticize. I say that not to say like, oh my God, it's all your fault, but it's giving you the power to do something about the pattern that you've been running when it comes to love. Like you were saying, chasing love or pushing it away, that's an indication that you got to ask yourself, are you truly wanting love? Because if you truly want love, right? Why would you be chasing it so hard that you actually chase it away? Or why would you be pushing it away from you when it comes to your doorstep? And we've seen that. I've done that. You've done that. We've all done that, right? Like the perfect person shows up and we don't.
I can say push you away is number one since I think a lot is the fear. Oh,
Mhm,
we talk about that. Oh, push you away maybe fear of commitment. Fear when
mhm,
you commitment, you feel, oh, I lose my
My
freedom.
freedom.
My freedom. We
Yeah.
keep talking about you married your purpose. What
Yeah.
is your freedom?
Yeah. Well, you and I have a lot of conversations about that because you and I share that similar sentiment, right? For years, that was kind of my perception until one of my teachers called that out of me and said, why do you have this perception that being in a relationship means you have no freedom? Why? Because everybody talks about it. Social media talks about it. Pop culture talks about it, right? They talk about once you're married, that's it. It's over. Taking the plunge, jumping off the cliff. All these different metaphors that, as funny as they are, they keep planting the seeds in all of us that when it comes to a relationship, especially something like love and marriage, that all of a sudden you don't have freedom anymore. And that's a myth. That's a farce. And so my teacher had to work hard with me to realize that if I'm truly in a loving relationship, I will have more freedom than I've ever had before. Right. And if
Well,
those,
we
yeah,
talk about the freedom. So really, is freedom is inside your consciousness. Think that is what does mean freedom? Like we said in the
hmm
relationship, we
hmm
said we talk about this. I say, oh, I feel I have a hard time to commit because I feel lose my freedom. I
right,
cannot travel anywhere I want to go. I
right.
cannot go do anything I want. But really, in the relationship, the another one will be say, "Oh, you're free to do anything you want. You could do it. Why you still feel about lose that freedom?"
What? Because you don't trust that person,
I want to
which
say
is,
it's
which is
not
you
that I
don't
don't
trust
trust
yourself.
that person. I want to say
You're
it's
projecting that you don't
really
trust yourself. That person.
not about the trust. I think I really look into myself about my relationship. Is
hmm
really I couldn't go anywhere I want to go. The feeling is not that I lose the physical freedom. I think it's lose the emotional freedom. That's what I mean. Emotional
Mm,
freedom
hmm
is
hmm
like when I go. I if I don't have a relationship, I go to example. I go to 3 months in India. I can be so much fun than so worry less. But when I have someone at home, so I will be thinking about that person all the time. When you
Even if that
talk
person
with
isn't
that
thinking about
person,
you.
yeah, he's thinking about me, but that means I become more concerned instead so carefree.
Yeah. I think you're talking about a very common problem, right? And that emotional freedom, I think, oftentimes what I found in my work with my clients who struggle with that is a distortion, right? Of what that emotion is. And it's not so much about like, okay, and is that is that's that makes you have to kind of think about, is this person really the right one for me? Because let's be honest. A lot of us get into relationships for the wrong reason, right? Especially if people getting into marriages and everything like that. How many times have we heard of people getting married because their reasoning was it just seems like the right time, or I'm not getting any younger, or my
Oh, I
friend
want to
said,
have a baby.
or I want to have a baby, my biological clock is ticking, right? From my cousin
But
Vinny
that is
stomping
true
her feet,
too.
right?
That is true.
That's
Part of
true.
true.
And then is it really about having that baby? Then go get it done with somebody else and choose someone to be there. But there's so many different layers to this.
I think
Is
way is from
hmm
our tradition. So we're growing up, right? The
hmm
parents, I think we're growing up to see our parents, even they don't love each other, they are struggling so much. They
right.
fight all the time. Then they will be think, oh, because I keep my family together, I keep my kids safe, I keep
Yeah.
just many reasons to
And
keep
that's
that
love.
together.
And
That
I do
is the
love
love.
it in
So I
air
don't
quotes.
love my husband. Maybe I love more my kids. So I sacrificed my relationship because
Or
I want to be with my kids.
or what you defined as love was dictated by your experience of what you experienced in life and observed. Like, I love my parents. I do. When I grew up, their version of love from a husband and wife standpoint, I remember at one point looking at it and goes, I don't want that. And that dictated a lot of my aversion to being in love or being in a marriage or any of those different things. And I was like, yeah, I don't want that. That doesn't look appealing to me, right? I had the wherewithal to think that, but a lot of people they'll think that because they grew up and they had a decent childhood, and even though there's like they call it dysfunction in the household, but that dysfunction, believe it or not, at a very young age helps you define your version or your meaning of what love is, right?
Well, I wanted to say because it does have the cultural effect. Because I think about 25 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I said 25 years ago, my first divorce.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear I said first divorce, maybe I have more divorce going on.
Do you?
Do I? Yeah, maybe. But I wanted to say when I was 25, so I have I married, first marriage I do,
Mm-hmm.
was 25. I was thinking about the love is give everything I owned, then
Mm-hmm.
give not just my physical body, my heart, and also my work, my
Mm-hmm.
caring, my
Mm-hmm.
money,
Mm-hmm.
because we come from like I come from the parents. You know, I'm adopted the kids,
Mm-hmm.
but my luckily my adopted father loved me so much, so
Mm-hmm.
he gave me everything I need. Even some love overflow. I feel like that was
Right.
happiest time in
Mm-hmm.
my childhood. But
Mm-hmm.
from another side, my mom, then she's cold. She loved my brother, older brother, that her own son.
Mm-hmm.
Then I always feel something between me and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I was growing up, choose the love. Do I do like my mom or do I do like my father? So my
Mm-hmm.
first choose because love feels so good. So I
Mm-hmm.
become like my mom, my father. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, okay, the man I love him. Doesn't matter he have work or no work.
Mm-hmm.
So I support him. I give everything for him because I love him. That
Yeah.
was my first marriage because I married for 4 years. My
Mm-hmm.
husband, ex-husband, never work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then my daughter was 3 years old. I
Mm-hmm.
chose to divorce because
Mm-hmm.
I'm burnt out. I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about okay, so I taking care my daughter myself. Now I don't want to take care husband anymore. So I chose the
There's like two
divorce.
kids in the house.
And at that time, that's 25 years ago in China, oh, all of the people was talking about my mom, my family, friends said, your daughter only 3 years old. You shouldn't divorce. You should stay in the family, listen your kid. Your daughter
Hmm.
have a father, mother, have a whole family. Oh, you divorce, how dare you, and blah, blah. A lot of criticizing
Hmm.
waste that time.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a common story because they don't teach love and relationships in schools, right? You're kind of left to whatever society, culture, and family teaches you. And whatever you grew up with, it's not like you go and live with other families to see what love is like in other families, right? You only see one version. And it's no surprise then why so many people wake up and later in life and said, that's not what I want, you know? And I think the bottom line is this is that one of the other hidden ways that we sabotage our love is not taking the time to define what love is specifically for you, independent of your parents, independent of society and culture, and doing that work to really understand what that is. And I'll give you a hint. It starts with understanding how to give yourself so much love that you understand how to educate anybody around you on how to love you best. That is the beginning and the precursor of it. And there's another couple hidden ways, but I think that's another big one right there.
I wanted to say because we growing up,
Hmm.
never like you said, the school never educated about the love.
Hmm.
Especially now, where so many people talk about the self-love. You have to love yourself, then you
Hmm.
know how to love others, right? But
Hmm.
in that time, in that generation, I think self-love is like a um,
Selfish.
exactly
Yeah.
selfish, self-centered.
It's like,
Because we're
yeah.
growing up, my parents, the school, the whole society is teaching you have to taking care your parents, your kids, your husband, so everybody around you.
Yep.
Nobody say you will be taking care of yourself. Maybe have slight that something say you taking care of yourself, but
Yep.
you always not the priority. You
Yeah.
always way behind. That's why I feeling burning out in my
Yeah. I
relationship.
mean, it's a distortion from the old way that people used to survive. Back then, when we were nomadic, we were a village, and that made sense. If everybody contributed and helped in the whole village, then you would survive. What happened was when we started moving into this whole marriage, two person in the household only, the old habits and patterns of giving to the village of two people, right? Which isn't as effective as if you're giving to a village of like 10, 20, 30 people, right? So that's where the shift has been happening. That's why I think the concept of marriage and love and relationship needs a massive overhaul, a massive disruption to help people understand that we are in a different time of a different time of human evolution right now, where it's not about villages anymore. And so martyring yourself, sacrificing yourself for the betterment of survive. It's basically sacrificing yourself for the survival of the village of two people, which then
So
means that
that
there's
here
only
is
one
the
person.
second question. I think many people is also in the same way they will be talk about. I want to ask that question. If someone you listen this is that question resonate with you, or you have something different you want to make comment below. So
Hmm.
why do we attract the same unhealthy pattern over and over again? So I really wanted to talk about this. Wait, so why we are doing the same thing over again? So now come to my second marriage. Come to my second marriage. I divorced the second marriage. That's the second divorce.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Hmm.
maybe that is a long way take me to learn how to be relationship, how to love myself, then find a
Hmm.
better relationship
Hmm.
now, or maybe in the future it's better. Is there ever have the better relationship? I wanted to share this why attract to the same unhealthy pattern
Hmm.
over again. Because I was married my ex-husband, the first
Hmm.
one was a Chinese because with all Chinese cultures, so that's from
It
my
seemed like it was
childhood.
easier, right?
Yes, that's what I do. But I found out that the second marriage, I married the American guy, but exactly same like the last
So it
one,
has
first
nothing to
one.
do with like ethnicity. It's a
Also
human being.
is because that time we was in China, he was working in China. I
Okay.
was thinking, okay, he's come from another country, so this is my country. I should taking care him
Hmm.
instead. So I use, I think that reason is really reasonable, right?
Hmm.
So then I
Hmm.
taking care everything. Then until he asked me to come to America, then I come to America. Then just a few months, then he left me. So then I was think, wow, the pattern is not I attract to the man doesn't work. Also attract the man who will be abandoned me because when
Mm.
I was be abandoned
Right.
by my parents when
Right.
I was little. That's then my adopted father loved me so much that I think love is give everything. So I gave the first one, I gave the second one, the both husband, ex-husband, doesn't matter Chinese, American. That
Right.
means I attract unhealthy pattern over again.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's nature at work. Okay, so if we look and I'm going to explain this from a scientific way first. Okay. Um,
Scientific way.
yeah.
Oh, before you explain, I want to ask the question. Be real is wait, you never married. How do you understand the difference of the marriage, the relationship? You always on the outside the fence. We say when you're outside the fence, you're different.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that's something that a lot of people will say and a lot of people have said. And then they work with me as clients and they realize it doesn't matter. It's about a human being versus another human being. Just because it's in the context of a marriage and everything like that. Yeah. Do you know what that means? That just means you've immersed yourself into the perception and the meanings of marriage and love of two people within the same dynamic. And what you'll find is though the end result was the same, every human being is still different. There are subtleties and differences, and there's also a playing out of things. So think of it like this. What you did in those dynamics, if you see yourself as a common denominator, then what you've done is you actually casted those men to play the role of something in your mind that you, on an unconscious level, continue to make micro decisions to ultimately lead to some belief system that you already had in you. Abandonment, give it your all, because that's what love is. And then it's not, we can blame them, yes, right? But, because both of you made a choice to be together. But at the same time, if you are to take the most empowered, powerful person approach, you'll say, I casted them to play the role, to play out my belief, to feed this belief that I have in me. How do I change that? Because when that changes, the frequency changes. And from a scientific level, when frequency resonance changes, you start to naturally repel that which does not serve you and attract that which does. So,
Yeah, I wanted to say this take me long time.
mhm,
Finally, I shift my complete relationship. I think the number one things before, as I said, the trauma, the fear of being abandoned. So,
mhm,
and also why fear be abandoned, why I become more stronger than choose the man more weak, because I feel if I'm stronger, I will have value. No one will be abandon me, right? The fear that really keep me from true
right.
intimacy. That
Yeah.
is the fear. How to stop self-sabotage than before ruling a good relationship. Because before I wanted to say another one, because the stronger man come to my life, then I will be feel terrified because I think, wow, he's amazing, he's so great. Then I don't have value. He will look down me. So how
Uh,
I can thrive in this
right,
relationship.
right.
So that fear really keep me to attract that, the pattern with the over again. Until I finally, like you said, we take a lot of deep work until I did a lot of inner work, finally falling in love with
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then reaching that confidence, reaching that understanding what is the true love, then I have step pop in will be have the better relationship.
Yeah. Which I think leads to
Complete
another.
break the pattern.
Yeah, I think that also then talks about another hidden way that we sabotage love is not having healthy or any boundaries or letting go of your boundaries when you get into a relationship. You see, a lot of people feel like, in the beginning, it's kind of interesting. And we see this dynamic. People are dating, people are in that phase where they're dating, getting to know each other, and they have strong boundaries. They establish their boundaries. There's like they're proud of their boundaries, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then what happens is when they choose like, okay, we can trust each other, let's break that, and then they loosen the boundaries. They allow them to they forgive them for crossing the boundaries once, twice, three times, four times, five times. Those boundaries are important for you as a human being, period, whether you're in a relationship or not. And one of the hidden ways that people sabotage love is not so much that, the other person is a narcissist or whatever the case may be. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, sometimes it's both, right? But the most important thing is, did you stop enforcing your boundaries as a human being, which is also an expression of self-love? Because on an unconscious level, if you let someone cross your boundaries over and over again, you're telling them unconsciously that you don't love yourself enough, which then is the precursor of them thinking either taking your love for granted or starting to question whether or not they truly love you.
Are we all learning how to find the true love or how to be really understanding love?
Hmm.
It's through how do we be heard through the growth,
Hmm.
through the learning
Hmm.
curve, you
Hmm.
know. So, and I think I have one more really big one to sabotage the relationship is particle and analyze everything, then that is really unhealthy love. When I
Hmm.
have a client come and tell me he's in the very not healthy relationship because she analyzed everything. I said, why you analyze everything? Then she said, because I was hurt. So I use that experience to analyze it, the new experience.
Yeah.
That stop the how to say, stop the confidence. That
Hmm.
also is trust to go
Yeah.
through the new relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big thing too, is that a lot of people like to take the traumas and the negative experiences from a previous relationship and distort that, thinking that it is a learning. Let me just say this. And the reason why I can say all these things is because I personally have gone through all of these things I'm talking about. So it's not like I'm
So how many relationship have you gone through?
oh, don't even get me started. We don't have enough time for this
we don't
episode.
have we
But
don't have enough time to read your list, right?
okay, but let's talk about this piece right here, is that one of the things through the work that I've done for myself, with my teachers and with clients and with the work that I do over at HumanOp is this. There's only one the biggest thing you can take away from any relationship is deeper learning about yourself. Whatever you learn about the other person is unique to that person, because if you take what you learned about that person and then superimpose that on the next person, that's a different human being, completely different human being. And if you want to get lazy and generalize that that's how all men or how all women are, that's on you. That's not the other human being. And it's not fair to the other human being, right? And that's why they say it's kind of good to kind of process through the previous relationship before jumping right into another one, because you need to glean all the lessons you learned about yourself so that when you show up to the next relationship, you show up and evolved and elevated a improvement on the previous version of yourself, of what you learn about yourself in the context of a relationship with another human being. You take that into a new relationship. That's how you start to break that pattern of repeating the same thing over and over again. What you're talking about, that person that overanalyzes, what they're doing is they're taking all the traumas and expecting it from the other person, and thus is witch hunting for when that person raises that red flag. Is like, there it is, there it is, and that's what keeps them stuck.
So we are talking about a few things the common self-sabotage behaves in the relationship.
Hmm.
One thing is push people away. Then
Hmm.
another second one is overanalyze, overthinking, then create unnecessary trauma.
Hmm.
Then the third one will be attracting unavailable partners,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Then the fourth one will be avoiding the deep intimacy.
Hmm.
Then the fifth one, I want to say, we talked about the fifth one with constant fear about that rejections. So, people will be thinking, oh, I love this person, but I don't know if this person doesn't like me. They even doesn't ask yet, just
Yeah.
all behind the thinking. So
Hmm.
that's a five-way you self-sabotage your relationship. Then how do we give more tips here is after all that sabotage, what is the best way? We give five way. How do you stop self-sabotage?
In a relationship or in love, when it comes to love, how to
Come
stop
to the
stuff.
love. Break
I mean,
the circle. How to stop sabotage of love.
well, we shared a variety of different ways. I would say if you re-listen to what we talk about, pick one place to start and start diffusing those little hidden ways, or like say hidden triggers, one by one. When we start to think, oh, to do everything all at once, that's when we get overwhelmed and we don't do anything. So if you want to re-listen to what we talked about today, and then pick the one that you resonated with the most and start there, and start to explore and start to dive deep and have that inner conversation, whether it be journaling, whether it be talking it out, to understand what is it that you are doing. Because when you bring the ownership of what you've contributed to sabotaging things, that's when you bring the power back to you to be able to do something about it. I think a lot of
I
people
wanted
think,
to share, yes, how do I break break my circle of the sabotage of my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing really important for me is recognize my self-sabotage triggers.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the trigger to me? Why I attract the same unhealthy relationship? So there is, if you recognize it, you're aware what is in there, you can find that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
When you're understanding that pattern, then you're able to shift. Then
Yeah.
shift the mindset, move forward the fear base, then to love base. It's more open heart. Not let past experience to stop you to
Mm-hmm.
experience something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fear is there. So to be aware, how more open with that, I think you can break the circle of sabotage.
Yeah, it's recognizing that, okay, I'm choosing to, you know, have this pattern or this trigger because it's feeding what belief? It all comes down to what are you feeding internally? Because everything that you're experiencing externally is a projection of what's going on internally.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a feedback mechanism, it's a feedback loop. So when you manifest what's happening outside of you and you observe it and experience it, it feeds back into you to justify some belief that you are not lovable, you are not good enough, you are going to be abandoned, whatever, that was. So all those different things, if you start to understand that that's what's going on, like Ria is saying, that's when you can break the pattern. That's when you can disrupt and put a scratch on that record so it stops playing over and over and over again. And then that way you can start to see a shift in the dynamic of love in your world and not have to sabotage it, whether you're conscious of it or not.
Yeah, I think listening the challenging, what is the belief that's about love that
Hmm.
have been holding you back, and
Hmm.
then learning to communicate openly and honest. So I heard before the class, I went to some class, I think a long time ago in San
Hmm.
Francisco, to learn the courses called Understanding the Man and Understanding Woman. Because
Hmm.
we are different, how the way we are thinking. It's so interesting. I learned one thing is a woman, the emotion comes straight from the heart, then come out. Then the
Hmm.
man, the emotion, they say, is come from the back, then come across the head, then come out. So if you ask the man, hey, wait, how do you think? How do you feel? Maybe the man, many men say, oh, I don't know how I feel. But if you ask them, how do you think? Then they start open up to tell you what you think. It's a small shift, but it's really interesting.
Hmm. Hmm. I would say that describes doesn't describe it's a helpful generalization, but I don't think it describes every man and every woman, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
everything is not that every man, every woman, just in general. I think listening, learning communication openly and honestly, that
Hmm.
is very good. But I have to be careful also because some relationship, the person not learning a lot, when you opening up, you share your vulnerability, then you sometimes they will use your vulnerability to attack to you.
And that's because well, at the end of the day, though, you chose to be with that person. So that goes back to you again. So what we want
So
to do is,
at the
recognize.
beginning, how do you when you start going to the relationship, when you at the beginning date, you never know this person is what is the true color if you don't go through the journey to with the person. You cannot say at the beginning you say, oh, you choose. I think that's a little bit harsh to tell the people who's maybe not doing. It's not everybody did deeply self-developer. Yes, everybody want to do, but they may be not there yet. But
Mhm.
how do you show in your compassion and help the people instead of say, oh, you choose at the
No,
end
you
is
choose
what
that.
you
That's that.
choose.
So for me, that's
Yes,
that.
we're understanding that.
Right. We want to get them to take the power back and say, okay, great. I'm not a victim of my circumstance. I can make better choices in the future. But how did I decide to make this choice here? And then you learn that about yourself and what you why you chose this person to be in your life and what role did they play? And when you learn that lesson, literally, that's when the relationship ends. When the lesson is learned from that person, that path that you walk together in life to learn things in life together, you can only learn with that person. That's what that experience was for you. And then what you walk away with then empowers you to make choices in the future that will lead to a different result. It's not trying to be, and it's not that I'm not compassionate about it. It's like I want to get people the quickest results possible. And so when the faster we can learn from the choices that we make and take ownership that I made this choice, so I get to learn from this experience. And from this experience, once I learn, then this suffering that I'm in right now will end. It will literally end naturally, right? Effortlessly.
I
But it
think we
requires
can
us to
talk
learn.
about this. Oh, the keep going for hour with this subject.
Yeah.
But this is got the end of our podcast today.
Hmm.
So end this, I want to give you a few things, practical steps to build a health love.
Hmm.
Then first one is self-awareness exercise. To exercise more like a meditation that can help you observe more your emotions, your thoughts, that's raising your self-awareness.
Hmm.
Then daily hobbies to stop the negative thoughts that spiral in your relationship. Then the third one, to create the relationship with the vision. What do you really want in a partner? So ask more deeply, what is you really wanted?
Yeah.
And is that, can you do what you want from the partner? Can you give what you gave the partner you want to have?
Hmm.
Rewriting all the beliefs and replace them with the affirmation. So few things, I think a call to action here we want to give to you is what is one thing you can do today and to break free from the relationship self-sabotage. Silence.
Oh, what's one thing that they could do? You're asking me?
We can ask, we want all of the listener to think about that. Yes,
Yeah.
what is the one thing you can do
Hmm.
today, just say today, to break free from the relationship self-sabotage? So
Yeah.
what do you do today, Wei?
To break away from self-sabotaging love?
Do you think you are not self-sabotager anymore, or you're already Superman, super loved?
Oh, well, I mean, when it comes, I mean, I've seen it all. I mean, I don't think there's one client that ever had over the last 30 years that at some point we're not talking about some relationship challenge,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think the big thing is visiting and revisiting on a regular basis as you evolve and grow as a human being, defining what is love? What do you want when it comes to love? What do you want in a relationship? That would be my step. That would always be my go-to step to start there. When I'm dealing with it, when I'm taking the time to say, okay, cool, what do I want in my relationship? Even if I'm in a relationship, I will still continuously revisit that. How do I define love today? How do I define love? Every time there's a spurt of growth and everything, how do I define what the relationship that I want? What kind of relationship that do I want? We have flexibility and freedom now. Do I want to be in a marriage or do I want to be just in a relationship because I choose to be in a relationship? You know, I don't want to be in a transactional relationship. I want to be one where it's like a human being sharing intimacy with another human being. So what happens is it's an ongoing process that I do whenever I feel triggered or when I feel like I'm questioning something. And before it goes to the slippery slope of sabotage, I revisit all the definitions I have when it comes to love and relationships in my life.
Yes, that is wonderful suggestions. So this is the end of our up show. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Wei. Thank you, everyone, for listening. what is something you sabotage yourself? So make comment below. Maybe next episode we still continue with our relationship sabotage,
There could be a whole
because
podcast
this is
just
a whole
on this.
podcast is long session about that. So
Yeah.
I hope you find some useful tools today in today's episode. So we will see you next week.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, everyone.